The giant space station called Nexus Prime floated in the darkness between star systems. It was the size of a small moon and made of shiny metal that reflected the light from distant stars. Ships from across the galaxy docked at its many ports. Today was important. The Galactic Council was meeting to discuss trade and territory. Ambassador Jake Morrison walked through the long hallways of the station. His black uniform had small earth patches on the shoulders. He was 45 years old, with gray hair at his temples and calm blue eyes. Behind him walked Lieutenant Kate Phillips, a young woman with brown hair tied back neatly. She carried a small device that held all their important documents. Kate felt nervous. This was her first big council meeting. She had read about all the different alien species they would meet today, but seeing them in person was different. Strange creatures moved through the hallways. Some looked like giant insects, others were made of living crystal, and some had too many arms or eyes. "Remember," Jake said quietly to Kate as they walked, "we are here to listen first. Humans have only been part of this council for 50 years. Most of these species have been here for thousands." They entered the main council chamber. It was huge, with a dome ceiling that showed the stars outside. Hundreds of seats were arranged in circles, each designed for different types of alien bodies. The human section was small and placed near the back. Jake and Kate took their seats. Around them, the chamber filled with representatives from across the galaxy. The Zephyrian Empire had the largest section. They looked like giant praying mantises, with silver skin and 4 arms each. Their leader, High Counselor Vex Thera, sat in the center of their group. His green eyes moved constantly, watching everything. Near the front sat the arachnids. They looked exactly like enormous spiders, but they wore clothes and had devices attached to their bodies. Their speaker, Clix-9, had 8 red eyes that glowed in the dim light. The arachnids were known for being very smart and logical about everything. The crystalline beings called the hegemony took up another large section. They looked like walking diamonds with light flowing through their bodies. Their leader, Shard King Prism, was the tallest. Light danced inside his crystal body as he thought. Other species filled the remaining seats. Some breathed different gases and sat in special containers. Others were so small they needed machines to make their voices loud enough to hear. Jake had studied them all, but he still felt amazed by how different they were from humans. A deep sound filled the chamber. The meeting was starting. High Counselor Vex Thera stood up. His 4 arms moved as he spoke in the common galactic language. "Today we discuss new territorial boundaries," Vex Thera said. His voice was sharp and clicking. "The Zephyrian Empire requires more space for our growing population. We have identified several worlds that are not being used properly." Jake felt his stomach tighten. He knew what was coming. Vex Thera activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber. A 3-dimensional map of space appeared, showing star systems and planets. Red dots marked the worlds the Zephyrians wanted to claim. Kate gasped quietly. 3 of those red dots were human colony worlds. New Eden had 50,000 people. Terra Nova had even more. These were not empty planets. They were homes. "These worlds contain valuable resources," Vex Thera continued. "The current inhabitants lack the technology to extract these resources efficiently. Logic dictates that more advanced species should control these worlds for the benefit of all." Speaker Clix-9 of the arachnids clicked his approval. His red eyes focused on the holographic map as he spoke. "The mathematics support this claim. Current resource extraction rates are only 12% of optimal levels. Advanced civilizations could increase this to 91% efficiency." Shard King Prism's crystal body glowed brighter as he processed the information. Light swirled inside him like liquid fire. The probability calculations confirmed the logic of this proposal. Primitive species often waste the gifts of their worlds. One by one, other species voiced their agreement. The floating cities of Arctura supported the motion. The Hive Collective agreed. The machine intelligence calculated the benefits and approved. Each species had their own reasons, but they all reached the same conclusion. The human colonies should be given to more advanced civilizations. Jake listened to it all. His face showed no emotion, but Kate could see his hands gripping the armrests of his chair. She wanted to say something, to argue, but she knew it was not her place. Jake was the ambassador. Only he could speak for humanity. The debate continued for 2 hours. Species after species explained why humans were not advanced enough to keep their worlds. They talked about humans like they were children who had been given toys they could not properly use. Humans are emotional creatures, said the representative from the Crystal Archives. They make decisions based on feelings rather than logic. This leads to inefficient resource management. Their technology is primitive, added the delegate from the Star Empire. They still use chemical rockets for some of their space travel. How can such beings properly develop entire worlds? They have been in space for less than 200 of their years, clicked Speaker Clicks 9. Most civilizations require at least 1,000 years to reach basic competency in galactic affairs. Jake remained silent through all of this. Kate watched him and wondered what he was thinking. The other human delegates in their section looked worried and angry, but Jake seemed calm. Finally, High Counselor Vex Thera looked toward the human section. The Galactic Council recognizes Ambassador Morrison of the United Earth Federation. What is humanity's response to this proposal? The chamber became quiet. Hundreds of alien eyes, sensors, and other organs focused on Jake as he slowly stood up. He was not very tall compared to many of the aliens, but something about the way he moved made him seem important. Jake walked to the center of the chamber, near the holographic display that still showed the human worlds marked for takeover. He looked around at all the different species watching him. Some seemed curious about what the primitive human would say. Others looked bored, as if his words did not matter. Kate held her breath. She expected Jake to ask for more time, or to offer some kind of trade deal, or to beg the council to reconsider. That was what diplomats usually did when they were in a weak position. Instead, Jake did something that no one expected. He smiled. It was not a happy smile or a nervous smile. It was the kind of smile that made Kate suddenly remember that Jake Morrison had been a soldier before he became a diplomat. It was the smile of someone who had just realized that talking time was over. Jake's voice carried clearly through the silent chamber when he spoke. His words were simple and direct. The United Earth Federation formally declares war on the Zephyrian Empire, effective immediately. The silence that followed was complete. No one moved. No one made a sound. Even the machines stopped humming for a moment. Then the chamber exploded into chaos. The chaos in the council chamber was unlike anything anyone had seen in 300 years. Representatives from dozens of species started talking at once. Some jumped up from their seats. Others made sounds that their translators could not handle properly. The noise was so loud that the chamber's computers had to increase the power to the translation systems. High Counselor Vex Thera's 4 arms waved in the air. His green eyes grew wide with what humans would call shock. He made clicking sounds. That meant he was either very angry or very confused. Maybe both. War? Vex Thera's voice cut through the noise. Did this primitive creature just say war? Jake Morrison stood calmly in the center of all the chaos. He did not look afraid or worried. He looked like a man who had just made the most normal announcement in the world. Kate Phillips watched from the human section, her heart beating so fast she could hear it in her ears. Speaker Clicks 9 of the arachnids moved his 8 legs nervously. His red eyes blinked in a pattern that meant he was calculating something very quickly. War is impossible, he said in his mechanical voice. War is mathematically inefficient. No species has declared war in this chamber for 307 years, 4 months, and 12 days. Shard King Prism's crystal body flashed with different colors as he processed what had just happened. Light moved through him like lightning in a storm. The probability of a successful human military action against the Zephyrian Empire is 0.003%. This declaration is illogical. But Jake was not finished talking. He raised his hand, and somehow the chamber became quiet. Again, there was something about the way he stood that made even the most powerful aliens want to listen. You think war is about numbers? Jake said. His voice was not loud, but everyone could hear him clearly. You think war is about having Bigger ships, better weapons, more advanced technology. You think war is a math problem that you can solve with computers? He turned slowly, looking at each section of alien representatives. You have forgotten what war really means. The holographic display still showed the star map with human worlds marked in red. Jake pointed at it. You see those worlds and you see resources to take. You see numbers on a chart. You see efficiency ratings and extraction percentages. Jake's voice grew harder. I see something different. I see 50,000 people on New Eden who wake up every morning and go to work building homes for their children. I see families on Terra Nova who move there to start new lives. I see human beings who trusted their government to protect them. High Counselor Vex Thera made an impatient clicking sound. Emotional responses are irrelevant to resource allocation decisions. The needs of advanced civilizations must take priority over the feelings of primitive species. Primitive? Jake smiled again, and Kate felt that same chill she had felt before. Let me tell you about primitive, Counselor. Jake activated his own device, and new images appeared in the holographic display. They showed Earth's history, battlefields covered with soldiers, ancient warriors fighting with swords and spears, ships firing cannons at each other across oceans, planes fighting in the sky above burning cities. Humans have been fighting wars for our entire history, Jake said. We have fought with sticks and stones. We have fought with metal swords and wooden shields. We have fought with guns and bombs and missiles. We have fought wars in deserts and jungles and frozen mountains. We have fought wars in the air and on the sea and under the ground. The images kept changing, showing battle after battle from human history. The alien representatives watched with growing unease. Most of their species had very little experience with actual warfare. You know what we learned from all that fighting? Jake asked. We learned that war is not about having the best weapons. War is not about having the most soldiers. War is about making your enemy decide that fighting you costs more than it is worth. Speaker Clicks 9's red eyes focused on Jake. The mathematical analysis remains unchanged. Human military forces consist of approximately 312 vessels. Zephyrian military forces consist of 51,418 vessels. The ratio is insurmountable. Is it? Jake touched his device again. New information appeared on the display. While you have been perfecting your existing technology, humans have been learning. We study every species in this council. We know how you think, we know how you fight. Most importantly, we know how you break. The chamber became very quiet. Jake's words carried a threat that made even the largest aliens feel uncomfortable. The Zephyrians fight in perfect formations, Jake continued. Your battle tactics have not changed in 2,000 years because they are mathematically optimal. But what happens when your enemy does not follow the same mathematics? He showed new images on the display. They were human military exercises, but they looked nothing like normal space battles. Human ships moved in patterns that seemed random and chaotic. They attacked from unexpected directions. They used asteroids and space debris as weapons. You fight wars to destroy enemy ships, Jake said. We fight wars to destroy enemy will. You calculate the optimal way to win battles. We calculate the optimal way to make you not want to fight anymore. Dr. Lisa Carter stepped forward from the human section. She was a small woman with short blonde hair and glasses, but she moved with confidence. Jake nodded to her, and she began to speak. Oh, I'm a xenopsychologist, Lisa said. I have studied every species in this council for 20 years. I know what you fear. I know what makes you angry. I know what makes you give up. She looked directly at High Counselor Vex Thera. Zephyrians value honor above everything else. Your entire culture is built on the idea that you are noble warriors. But what happens when your enemies rescue your wounded soldiers and send them home with stories of human kindness? What happens when you cannot hate the people you are trying to fight? Vex Thera's mandibles clicked nervously. Lisa turned to speaker. Clicks 9. Arachnids make decisions based on pure logic. But what happens when your enemy does things that make no logical sense? What happens when you cannot predict what they will do next because they are not following any pattern you understand? The giant spider's red eyes blinked rapidly. Lisa looked at Shard King Prism. The hegemony calculates probabilities for everything, but what happens when your enemy creates situations that your computers cannot calculate? What happens when every prediction you make turns out to be wrong? The crystal being's light flickered uncertainly. Jake stepped forward again. You want to take our worlds because you think we are too primitive to stop you. You think war is a simple equation. You are about to learn why humans are the only species in this galaxy that still remembers how to fight. He looked around the chamber one more time. The Zephyrian Empire has 24 hours to withdraw their territorial claims. If they do not, they will discover that being advanced does not make you invincible. It just makes you predictable. Jake turned and walked back toward the human section. As he passed Kate, he whispered, "Send the message to Earth Command. Tell them to begin Operation Teaching Moment." The council chamber remained silent as the humans left. Nobody moved for several minutes. Finally, High Counselor Vex Thara spoke in a voice that shook slightly. "Contact the Zephyrian High Command immediately. Tell them we may have made a serious mistake." 3 months had passed since Ambassador Jake Morrison declared war on the Zephyrian Empire. The galaxy watched their news feeds with growing confusion and fear. Something impossible was happening. The humans were winning. Captain Ryan Davis sat in the command chair of the UES Liberty, one of the smallest ships in the human fleet. He was 32 years old with short black hair and steady brown eyes. Around him, his crew of 25 humans worked at their stations. The Liberty was not impressive compared to alien warships. It was only 200 meters long and had basic weapons. "Captain," said his communications officer, a young man named Tony Baker, "we are getting signals from the Zephyrian fleet. They are asking us to surrender." Ryan laughed. It was not a mean laugh, but the kind of laugh someone makes when they hear something funny. "Tell them we appreciate the offer, but we have work to do." Through the front window of his ship, Ryan could see empty space. But he knew that 300 Zephyrian warships were moving toward his position. Each Zephyrian ship was 5 times bigger than the Liberty and had weapons that could destroy a small moon. The humans had only 12 ships in this area of space. By all logical calculations, they should run away or surrender immediately. Instead, they were about to teach the Zephyrians their first lesson in human warfare. "Dr. Carter," Ryan said into his communicator, "are you ready with the psychological profile?" Dr. Lisa Carter's voice came back through the speakers. She was on the UES Constitution, the largest human ship in the area. "Ready, Captain. Remember, Zephyrians are proud warriors who value honor and tradition above everything else. They expect their enemies to fight them face to face in organized battles, and we are going to disappoint them," Ryan said with a grin. The Zephyrian fleet approached in perfect formation. Admiral Threx Kalar commanded from his flagship, a massive vessel called Blade of Honor. He had won 43 battles in his long military career. He had never lost a single engagement. Human vessels, Admiral Threx Kalar broadcast on all frequencies. "You are outnumbered 25 to 1. Surrender now and your crews will be treated with honor." Ryan opened a channel that went to every ship in both fleets. His voice was calm and friendly. "Admiral, that's very kind of you to offer, but we have orders from Earth Command. We are supposed to show you something new today." "New?" Admiral Threx Kalar clicked his mandibles in confusion. What could primitive humans show the Zephyrian Imperial Navy? "How to lose a battle," Ryan answered cheerfully. The human ship suddenly scattered in all directions. This was not normal fleet behavior. Most species kept their ships together to focus their firepower. The humans acted like they were running away, but they were not moving toward the edge of the system. Instead, they spread out in a wide circle around the Zephyrian fleet. Admiral Threx Kalar ordered his ships to pursue the humans. This was standard tactics. Chase the fleeing enemy and destroy them one by one. But as his ships broke formation to chase the humans, something strange happened. The humans started broadcasting on every communication channel in the galaxy. News networks, entertainment feeds, emergency frequencies, even children's educational programs. Suddenly, billions of beings across hundreds of worlds were watching the battle happen in real time. "Hello, Galaxy," said Captain Ryan Davis, as his ship dodged weapons fire from 3 Zephyrian cruisers. "My name is Ryan Davis, and I am about to show you why humans are still alive after 50 years of being told we are too primitive to survive." The UES Liberty spun and twisted through space like a dancer. Zephyrian weapons tried to lock onto it, but human ships moved in ways that alien computers could not predict. They used asteroids as cover, bounced energy beams off reflective space, debris and flew patterns that looked completely random, but it was not random at all. Dr. Lisa Carter had studied Zephyrian psychology for years. She knew exactly how their minds worked. "Captain Johnson," Ryan called to another human ship, "now would be good." Captain Amy Johnson commanded the UES Defiance, a ship even smaller than the Liberty. She flew directly at the Zephyrian flagship, ignoring the massive weapons pointed at her. "Admiral Threx Kalar," Amy broadcast as she approached, "I want to tell you something about my crew. Lieutenant Peters over there has a daughter who just started school on New Eden. Sergeant Williams is getting married next month. Chief Martinez sends half his pay home to his elderly parents." Admiral Threx Kalar watched in confusion as the tiny human ship came closer. His weapons could destroy it easily, but something about the human captain's words made him hesitate. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked. "Because when you destroy my ship," Amy said calmly, "I want you to know exactly who you are killing. I want you to remember that we are not just numbers on a tactical display. We are people fighting to protect our families." The Zephyrian admiral had fought many battles, but no enemy had ever talked to him like this. Warriors were supposed to boast and threaten, not talk about their families. Amy's ship was damaged by a glancing hit from a Zephyrian beam weapon. Instead of retreating, she did something that shocked every alien watching the battle. She rammed her ship directly into a Zephyrian cruiser, but just before impact, Amy and her crew used escape pods to abandon their ship. The collision destroyed both vessels, but all the humans survived. The Zephyrian crew also survived because Amy had aimed for the least populated section of their ship. "Did you see that?" Ryan Davis asked the galaxy as he watched the rescue pods, floating in space. "Captain Johnson just destroyed a ship 50 times more powerful than hers, and she did it without killing anyone. That is how humans fight." The battle continued for 6 hours, but it was unlike any battle the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships sacrificed themselves to save others. They rescued Zephyrian survivors and treated them with kindness. They shared food and medical supplies with enemy crews. Most importantly, they never stopped talking. Every human captain told stories about their lives, their families, their hopes for the future. They turned a military engagement into something personal. Admiral Threx Kalar found himself in an impossible situation. His fleet was winning by every military measurement. They had destroyed 8 human ships and lost only 12 of their own. But somehow, he felt like he was losing. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "we are receiving surrender offers from 3 of our own captains. They say they cannot continue fighting humans who keep saving their lives." On his main screen, Admiral Threx Kalar watched human rescue ships picking up both human and Zephyrian survivors. The humans treated enemy wounded with the same care they gave their own people. "Sir," another officer reported, "the humans are broadcasting a message to our families back home. They are telling our mates and children that we are fighting bravely and with honor." Admiral Threx Kalar stared at the tactical display. By all logic, he was winning this battle. His fleet was stronger. His weapons were more advanced. His tactics were mathematically superior. So why did he feel defeated? Captain Ryan Davis appeared on his communication screen one more time. The human looked tired, but not beaten. "Admiral," Ryan said respectfully, "my orders are to continue this engagement until you withdraw your territorial claims against human worlds. But I want you to know that I respect you as a warrior and as a leader. When this is over, I hope we can meet in person and share stories about our families." For the first time in his military career, Admiral Threx Kalar did not know what to say. 6 months after Ambassador Jake Morrison declared war, the Galactic Council met again at Nexus Prime. But this time, everything was different. The same aliens sat in the same seats. But they no longer looked at the human section with dismissal or amusement. They looked at the humans with something they had never felt before. Respect mixed with fear. Jake Morrison walked into the council chamber wearing the same black uniform, but now it had small ribbons on the chest. Behind him walked Commander Lisa Rodriguez, a strong woman with short red hair and sharp green eyes. She wore the uniform of the Earth Defense Force and carried herself like someone who had seen real combat. Lieutenant Kate Phillips was still there too, but she no longer looked nervous. She looked confident and proud. The chamber was much quieter than it had been 6 months ago. No one was making casual conversation. Everyone watched the humans enter and take their seats. High Counselor Vex Thara looked older than before. His silver skin had lost some of its shine, and his 4 arms moved less confidently. The proud leader of the Zephyrian Empire had requested this emergency council meeting himself. The Galactic Council recognizes High Counselor Vex Thara of the Zephyrian Empire, announced the session leader. Vex Thara stood slowly. When he spoke, his voice did not have the same commanding tone it had carried before. Honored representatives, the Zephyrian Empire formally requests mediation in our conflict with the United Earth Federation. A murmur went through the chamber. This was not what anyone had expected. The Zephyrian Empire was asking for help to end a war they should have won easily. Speaker Clicks 9 of the Arachnids moved his 8 legs nervously. His red eyes focused on mathematical displays that showed the current military situation. The Zephyrian Empire maintains superior numbers and firepower. Victory should be mathematically certain. Why do you request mediation? Vex Thara was quiet for a long moment. Because numbers do not tell the whole story. Our fleet strength remains at 91%. Our weapon systems are functioning perfectly. Our supply lines are secure. By every measurement, we are winning this war. He paused and looked directly at Jake Morrison. But our soldiers refuse to fight. The chamber erupted in confused sounds. Representatives from dozens of species tried to understand what they had just heard. How could soldiers refuse to fight? How could a military force with superior technology simply stop fighting? Shard King Prism's crystal body flashed with rapid calculations. This outcome was not predicted by any probability model. Zephyrian military discipline has been perfect for over 2,000 years. It still is perfect, Vex Thara said sadly. That is the problem. Humans do not fight the way we expected. They do not fight the way anyone fights. They have turned war itself into a weapon against us. Commander Lisa Rodriguez stood up from the human section. May I address the council? She asked politely. Jake nodded his permission. Lisa walked to the center of the chamber. She moved like a soldier, but her voice was calm and respectful when she spoke. 6 months ago, this council decided that humans were too primitive to keep our own worlds. You saw our small fleet and our basic technology and concluded that we could not defend ourselves. Lisa looked around at all the alien representatives. You were right about our technology, but you were wrong about our ability to defend ourselves. She activated a holographic display that showed recent battle reports. In the past 6 months, human forces have engaged Zephyrian fleets 47 times. We have lost 218 ships. The Zephyrians have lost 93 ships. By the numbers, they are winning. The display changed to show something different. Video messages from Zephyrian soldiers, recordings of conversations between Zephyrian ship captains, reports from Zephyrian military hospitals. But numbers do not show the whole picture, Lisa continued. They do not show that Zephyrian crews now refuse orders to attack human rescue ships. They do not show that 3,000 Zephyrian soldiers have requested transfers to non-combat positions. They do not show that Zephyrian families are protesting outside military headquarters, demanding an end to a war against people who keep saving their loved ones. Admiral Threx Kalar appeared on the holographic display. The proud Zephyrian commander looked tired and confused as he spoke to his own government. I cannot order my soldiers to fire on humans who risk their lives to rescue our wounded. I cannot maintain military discipline when the enemy treats us with more honor than we treat them. How do you fight people who make you ashamed of fighting them? High Counselor Vex Thara's mandibles clicked in what humans now recognized as embarrassment. Human psychological warfare has proven more effective than any weapon we have ever faced. They have not broken our ships or our supply lines. They have broken our will to continue fighting. Jake Morrison finally stood up. The chamber became completely silent as he walked to the center. Honorable representatives, the human government is prepared to end this conflict immediately. We have only one condition. What do you want? Vexthera asked. Territory? Resources? Tribute payments? Jake smiled, but this time it was a kind smile, not the dangerous one from 6 months ago. We want exactly what we had before this war started. Our people living peacefully on our worlds, working to build better lives for their children. Speaker Clix9's red eyes blinked rapidly. You fought a war for 6 months just to keep what you already had? We fought a war to teach the galaxy a lesson, Jake said firmly. The lesson is simple. Just because someone has less advanced technology does not mean they are helpless. Just because someone is smaller does not mean they are weak. Just because someone is different does not mean they are inferior. Commander Lisa Rodriguez stepped forward. Every species in this council has something valuable to offer. The Zephyrians are honorable warriors with a proud tradition. The Arachnids are brilliant, mathematicians and scientists. The hegemony can calculate possibilities that no one else can see. She looked around the chamber. But humans have something too. We have learned from thousands of years of conflict that the strongest weapon is not the one that destroys your enemy. The strongest weapon is the one that makes your enemy choose to become your friend. Shard King Prism's crystal body glowed brighter. This suggests a new paradigm for galactic relations. Instead of viewing differences as weaknesses to exploit, we should view them as strengths to learn from. High Counselor Vexthara stood up again. This time his voice carried some of its old strength. The Zephyrian Empire formally withdraws all territorial claims against human worlds. We also request permission to establish cultural exchange programs with human colonies. Granted, Jake said immediately. But we have one more request. The chamber waited nervously. What would the humans demand now that they had proven their point? Jake's voice was serious but not threatening. The galaxy has been at peace for 300 years because everyone agreed that war was inefficient and unnecessary. That peace worked because everyone followed the same rules. But what happens when someone refuses to follow those rules? What happens when a real threat appears? He looked directly at each section of alien representatives. Humans are offering to serve as military advisors to any species that wants to learn how to defend themselves, not how to attack others, but how to protect what matters to them. Dr. Lisa Carter joined Jake and Commander Rodriguez in the center of the chamber. We have learned that the best way to prevent war is to be prepared for it. We have learned that the best way to keep peace is to make sure that peace is protected by people who understand the cost of losing it. The council session that followed was different from any in galactic history. Instead of debating territorial claims and resource allocation, the representatives discussed mutual defense agreements and cultural exchange programs. Instead of calculating advantages over each other, they talked about learning from each other. 3 hours later, Jake Morrison walked through the corridors of Nexus Prime for what he knew would be the last time as Earth's primary ambassador. He was being promoted to Secretary of Galactic Defense, a new position created just for humans. Lieutenant Kate Phillips walked beside him, no longer his aide but now Ambassador Phillips, taking over Jake's old job. Do you think they really understand what we taught them? She asked. Jake looked out a window at the stars beyond the station. They understand that being advanced does not make you invincible. They understand that being different does not make you enemies. Most importantly, they understand that peace is not something that just happens. Peace is something you have to fight for. Behind them, the Galactic Council continued its historic session. For the first time in 300 years, they were not just managing peace, they were preparing to defend it. The galaxy had learned that humans were not primitive at all. They were the teachers the galaxy had been waiting for, even if they had not known they needed teachers. And the first lesson had been the most important one of all. Sometimes the best way to keep peace is to be very, very good at war.